Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're taking a look at another model kit here from Sheik Mainland. The last one that we took a look at, the Zarov, really impressed me, so I'm very much looking forward to checking out this one here, the Zi-kron. It's going to be very similar, I feel like, to what we saw with the Zarov, in that it's basically similar to like an HG, and I love that. So a lot of the different original mecha model kits that we're seeing from a lot of these Chinese producers are of the larger, much more complex, much more detailed variety, which is great, but I like to see something more like HG like this as well, and so that's why these are really nice. And so really cool design with some nice details and everything on here. We're going to check it out for today's video. Let's go ahead and get started. So right here on the front, we've got some really cool artwork of the ZA11 Zi-kron. You've got the logo up here for the Ultra Action 144 scale logo here for this, the Sheik Mainland logo, and then a couple of other bits of text there around on the sides of the box. Got like a close-up image there of that, looking really cool. This design really reminded me a lot, especially with that helmet and the red eyes of like the Jinro Wolf Brigade anime. On the other side, just got the same thing there. On the long sides of the box, we've got some text here in Chinese and then images of the built and painted kit there, front and back. Around on the other side, some more of the mecha overview, some more text here in Chinese there, and a pretty cool logo right there. And then on the back of the box, we've got some more images and text here in vertical format there, showing it using its different weapons and in a couple different action poses. So it looks like we have a long rifle, a shorter rifle, and beam saber for some weapon options, although we might have more in the box. Actually, I don't remember what all is exactly included. So let's go ahead and pop it open and find out. Now, there's a good amount of stuff in there. It's packed pretty full. Anxious to see what this kind of secret looking thing is here. Not really anything necessarily secret. I think it's just our water slide decals and a kind of card. So yeah, there's like this stat card here. I don't know if this is necessarily something that you can actually use like for playing like a tabletop game or something like that. I suppose you can use these model kits for that. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure, but some cool like SD artwork of the Zi-kron on there. And then yeah, our water slide decals with the numbers for the decals, they're outlined in black, so they're easy to see. With the decals themselves, a lot of them just being white are kind of hard to see there, but there is some little bits over here in red, gray, and yellow for some of the markings. So some nice decals here for this. And then we've got the instruction manual here, which has some cool line art there on the front. On the back side is going to be our decal guide. So the decal sheet is shown like right here, and then it shows where those are going to be placed around on the kit, front, back, and side. It looks like we've got everything in full color, even though the kit's not very colorful. The decal parts list is going to be right here, and then all of our constructions. So not a very lengthy instruction. As I said, it's very similar to like an HG. Even though the kit itself is not very colorful, everything here is printed in color. So you can see, for example, it's like highlighting where the connection parts are supposed to fit together here on some of these bits like that. So that's nice to kind of show that to you, make the assembly very simple. And so before we get into the runners, then we do have our hand parts, which are just kind of bagged here, sort of molded on like little bits of runner there. It looks like we've got open hands, closed fists, and weapon holding hands in this softer type plastic. We'll take a closer look at those in the review portion of the video. We do also have our beam saber effect parts here, molded in clear pink. Runner A here to start us off is in gray. We've got two of these, SM15. I believe that's standing for Sheik Mainland 15, as in this is the 15th release from them. The runners, all of the runners seem to be in like this much like softer. It's not exactly like a polycap material, but like almost. It's a very odd, soft feeling plastic, which I can't say that I'm a big fan of, but we'll see how that performs. Runners B and C, then here some more of the mechanical parts of the kit. So you can see some great details on here. It's like parts for the underside of the skirt parts there, I believe, for example. So these are really nice looking parts, but again, the plastic feels very strange. I guess the B runner feels like the A runner, much softer. The C runner is a little bit more rigid, a little bit more kind of like typical ABS feeling almost there for the C runner. Runners D and E are a little bit smaller here. Runner D being in light gray, runner E being in this plated gold. We test this just to see what color is underneath the plating on the runner here. Interestingly, it looks to me like it's actually plated gold on top of just a molded gold plastic. but it looks nice anyway. Runner F here is going to be the majority of our armor parts here. We've got 2 of the F runners, so armor parts for like the arms and legs mostly there, and this is in this kind of dark navy color there. Runner G, some more parts here in gray, mostly weapons and accessory little bits, detail parts here. Again, this is in like a little bit more kind of standard ABS feeling plastic now. It's just those first couple runners that felt particularly soft. Runner H is going to be the rest of our armor pieces here, the non-symmetrical parts there it looks like. So parts for the torso, head, skirt parts, and shoulder parts there basically. Lastly then, runner I is some more frame parts, and once again we've got 2 of these, and again some great detail on the inner frame for sure. So even though I was likening these kits to like HGs in terms of their complexity, they do have some really nice inner frame detail, which is obviously not something that you see on a lot of like HG Gundam model kits, for example. So that's it for the runners. Let's go ahead and get it put together and check it out. Alright guys, so here is the kit all built up. Very cool design, a super solid feeling too, and this is going to be a really fun one to pose, I feel like. But we do have some really cool accessories with this as well. We'll also go over just the construction of the kit here, point out some of the finer details, as this does have some pretty cool gimmicks built into it here as well. But overall, like with the Zarov before, I was really impressed with the build of this one. It's really nice. It does have a full inner frame inside there, and as you'll see once we get into some posing with this, even though it's quite bulky and chunky in its design, it's still going to be highly posable with some really nice articulation. So let's go ahead and start off here with our accessories. Now for the accessories for this one, it actually doesn't really have quite as much as the Zarov has, but we do have our hand options here. On the kit there, you can see we've got our set of closed fists. We've also got this set of open outstretched hands, which I really like. The pose on these is really nice, good for, you know, dynamic like posing expressions. So definitely a lot better than just kind of a standard open like resting hand. And then we've got a set of weapon holding hands for the left and the right side. Now the only downside for the hands is that these are in a softer, not exactly like polycap material, but almost kind of like a polycap sort of material for the hands. So it's not really ideal. I wish that those were just kind of in standard plastic, but that does mean that they're going to be a little bit more flexible for fitting the weapon handles into there, which kind of is not really that big of a deal. And also, I guess like you don't have to worry about like breaking off the fingers on the open expressive hands here like this. They're going to be nice and flexible there. Then for our weapons, we've got 2 ranged weapon options. One is just going to be this kind of standard rifle type weapon, and we will have a seam line down the middle of that. This part here at the back and the barrel are separate pieces, but the main body is just going to be 2 halves, so you will have a seam line there. Not really a huge fan of this one. The design's just kind of very simple, basic, kind of generic sci-fi mecha beam rifle looking gun, and so not necessarily the most interesting. Then we do have this much larger, more substantial like machine gun here with this bipod at the front that will fold down. You can also fold that back to there, forward to there. The secondary handle here on the side that can be switched around to the other side depending on if you want to have like a left-handed grip on this or right-handed. And then the main handle here at the back, that does not move, that's just fixed in place, but a much more kind of larger for one, and also a more detailed design, which looks really nice here. You will still have a seam line in some parts here on this design, unfortunately, but this top part is a separate piece, and then this bottom part is a couple pieces there that make up the kind of ammo drum there on the side. And yeah, good size too. Stood up next to the kit itself. You can see it comes up there to the chest. So it's not like super oversized, but I feel like it's a good size. It's definitely a good fit. In terms of the size and also the style of this, I think fits the main kit very well. And then we do have our beam sabers, and the beam saber effect parts are here in clear pink. The handles are stored in the back skirt. This is a cool detail of the design that I like. Here's the beam saber handles right here. You can just pull those out, and they are in there sort of firm. The handle design there is very simple, but it will work quite effectively. And that's it for the accessories. So as I said, just to go over some of the gimmicks here of the kit, I really like the asymmetry of the shoulders. So you have this sort of extra like sensor bit up here at the top, and this little antenna can also be folded down there like that. So that's movable here on the back side. This main kind of thruster bell here in the backpack can also be adjusted up and down. These ones here at the top are on ball joints, so you can, in theory, kind of move those around a little bit, but not really. Those are basically just kind of stuck in place. But here at the back skirt, this is also really cool. This center section is made up of these 3 bits of armor that will open up, and then you have like these thrusters or vents underneath that are exposed when those are open up like that. So that's a cool detail that can open up like that. Each of these large skirt sections also has an inner piece here to give you some nice frame detail on the underside of those parts. Just gonna pop the side skirts off here real quick just to make it easier to show you guys in the front skirts as well. So lots of detail, and I love that some of that detail of the gray piece on the inside pops through the armor, so you have these little bits of the gray sort of frame detail that comes through the front there. And then as far as like some seam lines here on the kit, where you would have seams like here on the top of the shoulder and here on the sides of the ankle, the seams are hidden just basically as like panel line details for the most part. Here on the side of the arm is kind of maybe the only exception where you have like a panel line detail here, but then at the front, I guess maybe like a seam line there that you may want to get rid of or not. Honestly, even that, I kind of would be inclined to just kind of leave it. Most of the seams, I think, just kind of fit with the design pretty well. Either they're hidden as panel lines or the seams just aren't really that big of a deal. So I think those actually are pretty good. The articulation of the head is really quite nice, as the neck joint, the head is attached via a ball joint, but then the neck joint will also extend forward. So you can actually bring the head really far forward to the front like that, or tuck it back into there like so, and then you have a pretty good wide range. Even though it looks like it would be like pretty well set in there and not have much range of movement, you can actually move that around quite well. I feel like I can bring that up to the front and kind of looking up over the front like that. So if you're doing a two-handed grip with the machine gun, you can actually bring the head out so it actually looks like it's sort of like looking down the scope of the machine gun or something like that. So really nice range of movement there. The shoulder as well will also swing really far to the front here, so that's fantastic. The shoulder armor will be able to move up, and we can bring the arm pretty far up there, more than like 90 degrees perpendicular to the body, so that's good. You have rotation up here at the top, a double joint at the elbow. So as I said, really nice range of articulation here with this. In the stomach section as well, that can move around forward, back, side to side, and then as you saw, the skirts are all individually articulated, with those being able to move quite well out of the way in case you wanted to have the legs like really far out to the side. You can extend the legs all the way out. You can extend the legs all the way up to the front there to about 90 degrees. If we bend this knee, you got a double joint at the knee. No separation of this knee armor though, but you can bend that. And we should even be able to do a really nice kneeling pose with this without any issue at all. So we'll take a look at that when we check out some poses in a moment. Lastly then, just here at the ankle, it's a double ball joint here, one at the top and one at the bottom, with like this ankle armor being attached in the middle. So nice range of movement here for the feet, forward and back, and then angled side to side there as well, which should be able to give you a pretty wide stance while keeping the feet flat on the ground. Up underneath the feet, some nice detail there. A little bit of some hollow gaps around the middle part of the foot, but still nice detail. And overall, I mean, as you can see, quite a nice range of articulation and good solid movement here. Now, as we check out some poses here with the kit, and you'll see how awesome this looks in a variety of different poses, you do have a hard point up underneath the waist section to be able to plug this onto an action base. Unfortunately, there's no base included, so I would recommend just getting any kind of Bandai action base that has just a 3mm peg. That's all you need to plug this onto a base to have it in jumping or flying poses. But one thing that you may be curious about with any of these like kind of third-party or original mecha model kits like this is about the plastic quality. And the plastic quality with this one, it honestly doesn't feel the best, but everything works perfectly fine. The plastic doesn't feel like weak or brittle or anything like that. Those first couple runners felt very soft in hand, but once the parts are actually in the kit, and they feel solid enough, so even though when you're going through like the runners and the parts, the plastic quality may not really feel the best, I think it all comes together and it works really well. So now that I'm like actually handling the kit and posing it and everything, I've got no worries about the plastic quality, and I think, you know, once this is painted, it's going to look really, really nice too. And I'm really looking forward to getting some paint on this actually. But really cool series of kits. This one, as I said, didn't really have quite as many weapons and accessory options as the Zarov, and you don't have like parts for being able to store the weapons on the kit, other than the beam sabers of course. But if you wanted to store the rifle or the machine gun on the kit, you don't have anything for that with this one, unfortunately, like we did with the Zarov. That was one thing that was really cool about that design. But as I said, I'm not really a huge fan of the beam rifle design for this one anyway, so I'm probably just going to toss that into my spare parts bin and just keep this with the long machine gun, because I think that's definitely a better weapon and very suited to the design here for this one, having a very cool like sort of like near future mecha feeling, something sort of like a Patlabor or Votoms, something like that, where you can imagine this being some sort of like military police mecha unit of some like dystopian near future or something like that. Anyway, so super cool design, fantastic kit. I really enjoy this one a lot and definitely looking forward to working on it some more. I highly recommend it for you guys. Check them out at usagundamstore.com. There's a couple different versions. There's a metallic black version and a clear black version of this as well, but I really enjoyed this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video here today. If you did, make sure to leave a like and make sure that you're subscribed as well if you're not yet subscribed already. And yeah, check out that link in the video description to USA Gundam Store where you can find this and more mecha model kits there on the site. That's it for today's video, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Later.